Welcome to the webinar on inspections and investigations held in jointly partnership with the Motor Safety Association and the Canada West Equipment Dealers Association. The Motor Safety Association is a non-profit, non-government safety association in the province of Saskatchewan. We are funded by dealerships in Saskatchewan of any business that sells or services any piece of equipment or item with a motor or steering wheel. That would include all of our farm equipment dealerships, our car dealers, our auto body shops, our gas bars, and also we work with our bulk fuel distributors. So we assist with workplace inspections, noise level testings, and core audits, various other safety services, and some other training sessions that we offer. If you refer to our website below, www.motorsafety.ca, for a complete list of some of our other workshops that we have offered, as well as some of the webinars we have completed in the past. So today's webinar, I'll jump into the first section on inspections. And an inspection is a planned walkthrough or examination of a workplace, selected work area, hazards, practices, machinery, tools, equipment conditions, activities, and processes. So sometimes people will have the idea that when they're doing an inspection, they just may be looking at tools or their surroundings. But by the definition is broad. You'd be looking for such things as the environmental conditions, processes, the method that people are doing the job, and different tasks in place to see if you can inspect that task. And there may be a better way of doing it. So essentially you're looking for everything and anything that can be a safety hazard when you're doing your inspections. So there are about 5 steps to successful inspections. First of all, you want to plan the inspection. You want to set the date with the company that you're going to inspect. If you're doing an inspection in-house, you can choose a date as well. There's checklists that you can use. Some people like to use a template. There's a lot of generic templates available. Or you can make your own checklist and make sure that it fits for your needs, and you can set it up so that it flows with your business, with the layout. And you want to decide who is going to be doing the inspection. It's always good to get a few different people involved with the inspection, as well as a different set of eyes. If I'm in the parts department, a good idea for me would be to inspect the service department. It's just so people alternate so that we're familiar with different areas of our businesses. Next, as I'm conducting the inspection tour, I'm going to ask workers, do they have any concerns while I'm going through it? And I'm going to be very observant and listening to what they have to say when I'm doing my inspection, because it may trigger something that I may have missed. It gives me an opportunity to examine it further. Once I've completed my inspection, I'm going to look at recommending some actions and some solutions. I may even reference current legislation just to validate a point or method that we found as a suggestion item. One thing that you want to make sure you do is when you look at your recommended items is to assign a target date to your inspection and see if you have a target person that can complete the inspection task. So that would be a good way to go about laying out your inspection process. And then you want to report and distribute your findings. So you can take your inspection report, you can post it on your safety board, and you can have that information available for your staff to see. The last step seems to get overlooked, and it's just as important as the rest, is to conduct a proper follow-up. Because once you do an inspection and you assign target dates and people to complete items on your inspection, you want to have that in place and make sure that you follow up to see that these items are taken care of. So there are a lot of benefits to doing a shop inspection as well. When you're doing an inspection, you have to be very aware of identifying the existing and potential hazards, because some of the benefits are you can identify the hazards so people may recognize them. Sometimes people may not see an item that's a concern, and that's where the good idea is to alternate departments so certain areas of businesses can do the inspections. It's so critical to identify a hazard before it turns into an accident or an incident. This is so critical and beneficial. It also reinforces and promotes safe work practices. If you're seeing someone doing a good job with a process that they're doing or the way they're just working safely, you can note that in your inspection. Praise is also very positive in an inspection. It doesn't have to be about negative findings. You can illustrate and document your positive findings as well during your inspection. And inspections and benefit is compare the conditions to the legislation, because you may not know what the current legislation is for the fire code or the electrical code or the current health and safety regulations. So by doing an inspection, it allows you to document and be aware, and maybe do some research, because how far do I have to keep items away from the electrical breaker panel box? How often do I need to inspect my fire extinguishers? These may be some legislation standards you're not familiar with, but when you look into it as a point on your inspection, it would be a benefit because you would see some of those results. So why inspect? Well, inspections are a very proactive safety activity. It gives you a chance to identify a hazard before somebody can get hurt or before something breaks down and costs you downtime at your dealership. So inspections are a very proactive safety activity. It's also good to commend workers for good activities. There's nothing wrong with that attaboy when someone's doing a good job on an inspection and passing that information on. And just to keep in mind, inspections aren't just about things. You're looking at practices and procedures, ergonomics. Did someone use the correct lifting techniques? Are there biological hazards, chemical hazards? Those sort of things you look for while you're doing your inspection. You're looking for the complete package. And be very observant of staff. Listen to staff. They may have concerns, and ask them for concerns, so make sure you follow up with that. And inspections are required by legislation. And currently in Saskatchewan, you're required to inspect your plant or facility at least once a year. That's a complete, thorough inspection that you would generate. Some good practices are to do it more often than that. It's a good example as well. Supervisors have responsibilities when it comes to inspections for carrying out the fact that inspections are being completed. They don't have to necessarily be involved with the inspections or complete the inspections, but they can delegate and they can be a part of the inspection process or have someone else do it. But they need to be responsible to ensure that those inspections are being completed. The same with the safety committee. The safety committee does not have to be responsible for completing all of the inspections. It's good to have other people involved with it as well. So there's a couple types of inspections. There's the ongoing inspection, workers where they would do their work cell or their work area. And a lot of people are doing these inspections already. They're looking at items in their workplace. They may not be documenting it, but they're aware of their surroundings. And the supervisors, their responsibilities would be confirming that these inspections are being completed. There's pre-trip inspections on forklifts, overhead cranes, that they have to ensure that they're being completed. Then you have your planned inspections by your Occupational Health and Safety Committee. At least once a month or before safety meetings is a good practice to do a planned inspection of your facility. Or you could have us come out to your workplace and we can do a planned inspection of your complete work site, plant, or facility. Then there's also maintenance inspections. Those are pertinent to what you'd see in your operator's manual because there's generally inspections involved in there as well. So this is for your reference. The next couple of slides are some of the many items that we look for when we're conducting the inspections. As you can see, we're not looking for just items that may be broken or missing or damaged. We're also looking for maintenance. We're looking for training, atmospheric conditions, signage, MSDS sheets, to name a few. As we go on to the next slide, some of the other items that we would see, we look at the housekeeping. That's a huge one. There's so many slips and trips and falls because there's so much cluster and garbage built up on the dealerships, and the garbage cans are overflowing and garbage cans aren't getting emptied. So that's something that is always an ongoing concern. We're also looking at lighting, environmental factors, first aid kits. Are they adequate? Are the eye wash stations maintained and upkept? Emergency procedures such as fire plans. So those are some of the items that we are looking for when we come out and do a work site inspection at your workplace. Some other inspection tips. If you have an opportunity, it's a good plan to review your previous inspections or meeting minutes, because some of these points may have been brought forward in previous inspections, and this gives you an opportunity to review those items and see that those items are being taken care of, or if you're doing the inspection, so that they're not missed. So you're going to want to be aware of what's been happening with previous inspections or what's documented on meeting minutes. You want to also know, when you're doing an inspection, the personal protective equipment requirements. So if we were asked to come out to your place for a shop inspection, and I'm wearing my sandals and I don't have safety glasses and hearing protection, and you require those items, I wouldn't be able to do that at inspection because I wasn't aware of my PPE requirements. So if you are inviting a third party in to do an inspection, you'd want to communicate that information. A lot of good safety inspectors would always have their PPE with them, but you just want to make forth your PPE requirements if you're inviting somebody in. As well as the route. Which route are they going to go in? It's a good idea to escort a third-party inspector with you on your site or dealership, because they may not be aware of all of the locations or the different areas within your facility that needs inspecting, and it's a good plan to have them involved as a second person, because a good tip with inspections is when you have someone doing an inspection, they're going to communicate with you, and they may be able to educate you or give you some more information about some of their standards or some of the things that they have seen or come across. So it's an educational tool having somebody else accompany a third-party inspector on the route when they're doing their inspections. As well as communicating with the workers along the way. Introduce yourself. Ask them if there's any concerns. Those are some very positive things that people bring forward that could be discussed at a safety meeting. So involving the workers is very important when you're doing your inspections. Looking out of the way places. If you see a door that's closed, don't walk past it. Open it. Take a look what's behind it. There may be a room full of compressed cylinders that may not be stored properly, or flammable items. So you want to just ensure that you look in out-of-the-way places, get off the regular path that everybody walks on, and kind of look around all areas of the business when you're conducting your inspection. And to use all your senses. Don't just go by what you're seeing. Smell. You may be able to smell. Is there a vapor or paint fumes? Is there a noise, excessive noise levels? So those are things to be aware of when you're doing the inspection, to use all of your senses. I'd probably not recommend the taste, though. You may not want to taste certain things when you're doing an inspection. And you want to take notes and possibly photos. If you're out to get some good notes about what you found, as well as perhaps where you found it if it's a large facility. So you may find that flashback arresters are absent on oxygen and acetylene torches. But if you're inspecting a building that has 3 different sites or sheds or storage areas, and they have many different oxygen and acetylene tanks, well, it would be a good idea to indicate where you found that so that it can be corrected. When it comes to photos, if you're on site of someone else's, facility that you may have been invited to, get permission first before you take photos, as opposed to just taking the photos. Photos are an excellent item that you can have on your inspection because it really adds to your inspection report. And you want to follow up concerns from previous inspections. If the area was inspected before and some areas may have been documented and the items have not been addressed, you want to take some time and ensure that they are followed up or at least in progress. A couple other facts that you may not have known when it comes to inspections: that your fire extinguishers are to be inspected monthly in-house at your location. So that means you or someone at your dealership is responsible to take each fire extinguisher, examine it, make sure it's clean, check that the hose is on it, the pin is in, the gauge is in the green. You can take it off the bracket and you can tap the bottom of it with a hammer just to ensure that it's, or with a rubber hammer to ensure and excite the molecules inside of it so that it's ready to go in case you need it. A good idea with those monthly fire extinguisher inspections is to have somebody else do it every month, just so it's not the same person doing it. So if there ever was a fire and there's one person always doing the inspection, he would know where all the extinguishers were, but maybe someone else may not. So it's a very good idea to rotate those monthly fire extinguisher inspections. And that is a requirement by the National Fire Code of Canada, those monthly fire extinguisher inspections. You also want to do pre-shift or pre-use inspections of your powered mobile equipment, overhead cranes and slings, and vehicle hoists and lifting devices. So those are requirements in Saskatchewan that you want to do for those pre-use or pre-shift inspections. And a lot of times, say for example, the operator's manual of the powered mobile equipment may have a pre-shift inspection template. If not, we would be able to help you locate one of those, or you may be able to generate your own that's specific to the machine or item that you're inspecting. I'm going to talk a little bit about near misses. A near miss is a condition or unplanned event that didn't result in an injury or illness or damage to equipment or property, but it had the potential to do so. So that's something that a near miss is. Sometimes we focus on near misses as something to reduce the likelihood of having a major incident or accident. And that's very critical in safety, focusing on the near misses, because it's something that when you look at it, it may not have resulted in that injury or illness or damage, but the potential was there. And when the potential was there, we can look at that potential and see how we can fix this so that it doesn't happen to somebody else, or to correct this action if it had the potential to hurt somebody. So by doing that and empowering your staff to get involved with that is going to be very successful to your safety program. For example, you want to get your workers reporting the near misses in writing. A good idea would be to have a template or a sheet of paper that allows them to fill in the near misses, what they've seen, documented it, the date, and their name. And by having it documented, it gives you a chance to ensure adequate investigation on that near-miss concern. Sometimes people, to get involvement from their staff when it comes to near misses, they encourage their staff to fill out and report near misses. Then everyone who submits near misses for a month, their name may be entered in to get a gift certificate or a gift card. So it's a good way of getting people's actively involved reporting near misses. And like I said, keep in mind you want to investigate those near misses to address the causes. When those near misses come in, they're documented. You want to look at that and how you can control it. And make sure your workers know the importance of near miss reporting, that you're doing this to prevent an injury or to prevent someone from being seriously hurt. So that's why we have the near miss reporting as a prevention tool or effort. This here is the near-miss incident ratio triangle. And as you can see, for every 600 near misses, there's could be 30 items of property damage or accidents, 10 minor injuries, and 1 serious or disabling or fatality. So every time there's a near miss, look how the ratio is in your workplace. So if you can, once you have those near misses, you can control them so that it doesn't go up to the next point on the triangle. That's where you're going to be successful. So keep that in mind when you get those near misses, and you can control them right here before they get here. Near misses truly are a leading indicator. Some of the safest companies investigate and measure incidents that have the potential to cause injury. So there you go. If the near miss was out there, the companies thoroughly investigate that. A good quote from Managing for World-Class Safety indicated, "The frequency of incidents that do not result in injury provides a leading indicator." So by having that leading indicator, we've got an idea of how we can control those incidents before they turn into accidents or major damages. So investigations, that's the next portion of our webinar. So when we look at investigations, if there was an incident or an accident or a near miss, and now our next level is the investigation process. So why are the accidents investigated? Well, we want to look to find out exactly what happened. We want to learn why it happened and prevent it from happening again and injuring someone else. So those are 3 important factors when it comes to investigations. We also want to ensure that we investigate for property damage and near misses and concerns, not just accidents. So when you're conducting your investigation, who is involved with the investigation team? I usually recommend having at least 3 people involved. A good one to be involved is the employee or the person that was directly involved with the accident or incident or near miss. So they could be involved with the investigation. You would want his or her direct supervisor or manager, as well as somebody from the safety committee. That gets you a good rounded committee of people to conduct your investigation. An interesting fact with the investigations, so many times the direct cause or root cause of an investigation can be found right on site of the filing cabinet, and maybe not on site where the incident happened, because it could be a documentation error. Why did this tractor come off of this bridge into the water? Well, maybe the documentation indicated that this person did not have training in powered mobile equipment. So sometimes what you don't find in the filing cabinet may be training records, which could be the root cause in some investigations. So that's an interesting little tidbit of information. And when you are doing your investigations, you want to move away from the blaming people and addressing the root cause. You don't want to say, "Ken, you were a terrible driver and you drove this tractor and off this bridge and wrapped the air drill around it." You want to address the root cause or causes, why that happened, and how we can control or prevent that from happening again. So when we're doing our investigations, what exactly are we looking for? Well, if you ever watched the TV show CSI, you want to do what they do on CSI. You want to take pictures. You want to take measurements. You want to interview people. There's a whole system involved in doing investigations, which we will roll out in this presentation, because you want to have that clear understanding of what happened and the root cause or causes, and look at the corrective actions, both short-term and long-term. You may have noticed when we're looking at root causes, well, the person may have cut their finger. Well, that was the direct cause, a cut finger, but what indirectly may have caused that could have been a dull knife, or maybe they had no training on the cutting process. So that could be some of our underlying root causes, as well as the corrective actions. Say, for example, if we were involved with a forklift incident, our short-term action, excuse me, may be to rent a replacement forklift or repair our forklift if there's some damage to it. Or long-term, we could be looking at purchasing and replacing that forklift. So there's some different items in place when we're looking at short-term and long-term items for corrective action. A bit of information about root causes. To determine the root cause of an incident or an accident, you want to ask why at least 5 or 6 times, or keep asking it until you can't get an answer anymore. This is what my 3-year-old does, and boy, it's a good way to find the root cause of an incident. You keep asking, well, why did this tractor get stuck? Because of this event. Well, why did that happen? And so forth. And you keep asking why till you determine what the direct or root cause was. And that's basically how root causes are established until you can't ask why anymore. And then that gives you a very good indication of what event had happened and how to correct it. Some good investigative techniques that we like to use or promote when people are doing investigations is the CART technique. C stands for collecting evidence, and by collecting evidence, that would include our documentation, photos, and interviews. A would be analyzing the evidence, processing it. R, you would be involved with writing your report and compiling your documentation into a report. And T, taking action and following up. One thing I do wish to mention, though, when you are collecting your evidence, if you are on site of an incident or situation, just be sure to ensure scene safety if you're on site of a situation that may or not be stable. So the first portion, collecting evidence. Keep in mind, the position of evidence can be disturbed rather quickly. So when you're on site, you want to be able to get as much clear evidence as possible, because once you move that tractor, you're not going to be able or want to put it back on that truck to get a different photo from a different angle. So you want to, before anything is disturbed, get your photos in place from every angle, from far away, a bird's eye view, nearby, corners, every way you can to see what happened and to have those photos in place. You also, when you're doing the investigation, you want to make note of the weather conditions. Now, was this a wet day? Was it slippery or was it icy? Was it hot? Was the sun in the operator's eyes? Different things like that. Sometimes environmental factors are overlooked in investigations, as well as direction. Is that tractor facing north right now, or is it facing west? Those are things you want to be aware of. As well as a field sketch. You may not be able to get everything in a picture, so you may want to sketch out the overview. Like looks like there's a row of trees back there, maybe a disc, and there may be something else that doesn't show up on those pictures. So you want to make a complete sketch and have an overall schematic of what your evidence indicates. Like I said, be sure to document your findings, so that your pictures, your notes, keep all your information in place. When you're getting out there doing that investigation, a good thing to have readily available with you is your investigation kit. That could include a disposable camera, or having a digital camera ready to go with you. Your pre-inspection template reports that you can write on, tape measures, pens, notepads, etc. So there's things that you want to have available and ready to go when there's an event to come out and investigate when you're collecting evidence, because the last thing you wanted to do in a situation like this is be scrambling. Where's my tape measure? Where's my camera? Where's my inspection template paperwork? It's so much nicer to have everything ready so you can just go and start collecting your evidence. The people evidence or the interviews are a very critical portion of the investigations because what they may say through their witness statements is could be quite helpful to your investigation. You want to ensure you get accurate statements from witnesses because they can be the most important part of the investigation. If they were right there on site, if they were right there readily available in the area where this event happened, they can give you exact information. I say can, and you would hope that people would do that, but just be aware of that. Sometimes people may present pitfalls. There may be bias. The person may not like the other person that this event happened to, and they're quick to lay blame and say that was an accident waiting to happen. Ryan should have known better. He shouldn't have done that. This is all his fault. So keep in mind that when you're doing the interviews and collecting your evidence from the people, that you don't factor in the emotion, that it sticks strictly to the facts. So I'll give you some tips as well when you are doing your investigation when it comes to interviewing, when you're doing the interviews to help you get the best information as possible. One of the things I can't stress enough is to ensure confidentiality. It's nice to have a neutral environment where people can obtain their statements. You can get them as soon as possible from the individual, as mentioned, in a neutral setting, so that they feel comfortable in revealing the information to you that they could share. A good idea is to only interview one person at a time. Don't bring everybody involved from the group and suggest that let's do a group interview or a group session, because what happens is, well, one person may fill in the blanks, or the other person may not have had that information, and then all of a sudden a story is built and it may or may not be accurate. So you should be the one that builds that story, and by interviewing each individual one at a time, you can take each piece of that puzzle and put it together and gather the information, and sticking to the facts, obtain what really happened when you're doing your investigation. And you want to put the interviewee at ease. Say, thanks for coming in to discuss the situation that happened. I realize it can be very stressful, but hoping you can share with me the information that you have. And you'll see me taking some notes and jotting down some information. That's just for our records, for the investigation. So feel free to give us any information that you can, and try to comfort the person. Don't make it more stressful or difficult than it has to be. You want to tell the person that the purpose of this investigation is fact-finding. You're not there to blame Ryan because the tractor rolled on into the bridge. You want to find out why that happened, or what you may or may not know about that event, to determine just strictly the facts from that individual. You want to use open-ended questions to gather the information. For example, you would say, Ryan, in your own words, can you tell me what happened today in this event? And then that gives them an opportunity to basically put all the information out there for you to gather. Don't interrupt them. Let them keep going until they're finished, because they may be talking, and even what they're saying may not be relevant, but it may trigger another statement in their mind, and then there could be some more factual information coming out. So don't stop them until they're finished. At that point, you could use closed-ended questions, just only to confirm the information you would have heard. So you would say, Ryan, so what you're saying is that tractor got stuck in the hayfield. Yes, that's correct. So then you would be using a closed-ended question to basically confirm or summarize the information that they gave to you in an open-ended question or statement. You're going to want to let the interview follow along. Don't want to lead them into the answers. You let them get to that point. You don't want to say, so then he drove into the hayfield and then he got stuck. Just go with the flow. Let the interviewee spill their information out while you record it. As I mentioned, listen. Be a good listener when you're talking, when the interviewee is talking to you. Record your information, but don't comment and interrupt them. is keep your information recorded so it's available. Then you want to end your interview on a positive note. You could give the person a business card and say, "Oh, thank you very much for the interview. I may realize that may have been difficult for you to gather that information and reveal it, but we sure appreciate you taking the effort to do that because we want to address the situation and find out what really happened and the causes so it doesn't happen to somebody else." Thank them for their time. Offer them your phone number, business card, if they have other information that they feel may be relevant to the investigation. So those are a few tips and tricks that would help you when doing your interviews in the event of an investigation. Because when you look at it, there's a lot of different things that people may interpret differently. So by interviewing the people, it gets you some of the evidence. You can see on this here slide that 3 different people in 3 different locations observed 3 different things. So by looking at that information, it helps you analyze that data and build that information into finding the facts to what really happened in the situation. So then when it gets to the process of writing your report for your investigation, you want to take the information that you gathered, have a description of the accident, or the near miss, the event or incident that happened, and describe what exactly it was that happened. Then you want to utilize any photographs or other evidence that the interviewees may have provided in evidence, or evidence that you may have gathered, measurements or sketches. Any of your photographs that are relevant, you'd want to include them in your photographs on the investigation report. And then, as I mentioned, about locating that root cause, asking why repeatedly until you can no longer ask it anymore to determine what those root causes are. And then once you have those in place, you want to wrap up your report with what's something I could fix today, a short-term corrective action plan, what's something long-term that I can maybe fix tomorrow or 6 months from now, or something I may have to budget for. Say, for example, if there was a situation in your parking lot, you may have to put a temporary barrier or a small sign just around with reflective tape to protect that area. So that's something you can do today as a corrective action. But long term, you may look at pavement or repaving that pothole to fix a situation. So those are a couple different things that you can look at when you're doing your investigations. A good thing is this here quotation: turn a reactive situation into a proactive opportunity. So the reactive situation is the investigation that happened because the incident happened and now we're reacting. But since we've reacted, it gives us an opportunity to have a proactive opportunity because we can look at those root causes and implement corrective actions to address these concerns or root causes so that they can be controlled. So taking action, this would be the last step in the CART method of the investigation. So by now you have your root causes are determined, which is a critical portion of that section of the investigation, and prevention of similar events. Now that we know what happened, we can look at our processes, what we're doing. Maybe this is a process that maybe happens once a week, and if this happens, a similar event once a week, let's implement our controls so we can prevent this event from happening every week. That eliminates that risk. So that's an action that we can take, as you see from the previous slide, creating that opportunity to prevent the situation from occurring. Taking action is demonstrating due diligence. Now that you've determined the root cause, what it is, you can roll that out in your dealership or your locations, your group of stores, or in your business to determine what exactly that happened. And by demonstrating due diligence, you're going a long way in promoting and preventing that injury or event from happening again. Corrective measures. You want to roll those corrective measures out as soon as possible. We spoke about the short-term events and long-term controls that you can put into place to correct those measures so that the event doesn't happen. So take action with your results from the investigation. Don't just file it and ignore 13. Look at that investigation report and those causes and see what you can do with the short-term and long-term plan to implement those recommendations. Follow-up is critical to everything. Don't just file that investigation. Follow up. Ensure that it's done. If you target a long-term plan, follow up. Make sure that long-term plan gets done. Maybe you need more time. Look into that just to be sure that you follow up and communicate with your investigation results by even posting those investigation results for people to see in your location on your safety bulletin board so people can see that you have taken the controls and measures into place. So lastly, sometimes people underreport incidents or accidents or near misses for some reasons. And it's quite unfortunate because, as you see by the previous slides, by people reporting those near misses, we can control them. If we don't know what's happening in a near miss, how can we control it? And some of the fears that people may have why they don't report incidents or accidents are they may be afraid of punishment. Geez, I did that wrong. I hope I don't get disciplined for that. They may be concerned about their record on their file in the business. They may not want a black mark on their file saying what had happened in the situation, if there was an injury, or about their reputation. They may not want to be have that reputation that they're injured, or they may have had a previous injury and they got another one. So they don't want to report it because they don't want to feel that they're concerned about their reputation of someone who's being commonly injured. Sometimes people are afraid of doctors, or they don't like medical personnel, so they may not seek treatment as well. They don't want to avoid work interruption. If they work in an assembly plant and they're taken out of work to go to seek medical attention, well, now a bottleneck has occurred. So people, they may not want to do that to their other workers, so they just keep working and they don't report that accident because it's going to take some time and they may have to go seek medical attention, and that could cause a work interruption to the other workers. They may not want to have the avoidance of the red tape. They don't want to go through the process of filling out the near miss form or being involved in an investigation. Sometimes people just want to pretend that it never happened so that they don't report it. And they're concerned about what others have to say about them or think about them. If they're involved with this, they go, why is Ryan doing that investigation? What happened? Sometimes people just want to work and stay clear of some of these concerns so that they're not involved with having to do an accident report or incident report. But lastly is a critical reason the people have the poor understanding of how just important this really is. By investigating those near misses and indicating those areas of concern is so critical, because if we can control those from happening, when we looked at the triangle of near misses to fatalities and how we can control those events or situations, if people understood how important that was, that each step in there they can control and be a part of, I would hope that people would be more proactive in reporting their incidents or accidents so that they can be controlled in the workplace. So that concludes our presentation on inspections and investigations. Our next webinar will be July 18th, 2013, with the topic of risk assessment and job hazard analysis. Keep in mind, every injury or incident is an opportunity to learn and improve. Thorough participative processes of investigation are a cornerstone of safety. So keep that in mind at your locations. With that, thank you for signing in to today's webinar, and our website is available, and email address and phone number for any questions that may have arose from it. Thank you.